we go. Let me know when you're ready.
Good.
All right, perfect. There we go. So 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Mike, congratulations. We have made it. We are here. This is, Stevens Point is about to be the center of the golf world for this weekend. Of course, you are the head of the city. So tell us, what is going on in the city this week to welcome everybody for the Men's Senior Open?
You know how we always talk about this, Michael, that there's always something going on in Stevens Point? Well, this week is the exception. There's really nothing to see here. Move along.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right.
Well, of course, we got
I guess we're done here.
The USGA Men's Senior Open is kicking off or driving off. I don't know how to teeing off.
Teeing off. There we
go. You'll probably see a lot of Lexuses around the city. The people are going to start shuffling in. The actual tournament doesn't start until Tuesday. But yeah, we'll have the practice sessions or whatever they're called, the preliminary rounds. And then the championship, it culminates this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which of course coincides with our annual Riverfront Rendezvous 4th of July Festival. We've got several youth ball tournaments that are going to be in town, as well as a plethora of other things that are going on in the city. There's a Q Gallery, a show that's going on, and a bunch of other stuff. But the big one, of course, is the golf tournament. Everybody here is focused. I was driving around last week and I started seeing welcome USGA up on people's marquees. The town is going to be bustling over the next 7 days. And then, of course, the 4th of July holiday is coming up. So we have some cool down time for that. And boy, and then it's back to business as usual. The year and a half or almost 2 years of planning and boom, here it is. And before you know it, it's going to be over. So everybody's really excited.
Yeah, indeed. And you mentioned having all kinds of Lexus vehicles in town and things like that. What do you want residents to know as far as transportation goes and what roads are going to be open, closed? Because as we were just talking a bit ago, something that might be a 5-minute commute for you could, I don't know, double to 10 minutes or maybe even 12 minutes because there's so many people.
We're a pretty small town, but we are closing off 2 of the roads that are directly adjacent to the Century World complex. North Reserve and Maria Drive are going to be closed in sections around the tournament, only because we're going to have thousands of people walking. We don't want people driving through there, gawking or potentially creating a hazard. We want to make it safe and enjoyable for everyone. So those roads will be closed to non-permitted traffic. Century is going to have some shuttle buses that are running there from their designated parking areas, as well as the golfers will have in and out type privileges. There's passes that are available. There will be manned or people at the closings. If you have a permit, they can allow you in, but generally, it's for the safety of everyone that's going to be attending. We want to make sure that they don't have to worry about cars zipping through there or people maybe not paying attention. So the roads are hardly traveled to begin with. Unless you live in one of those areas, you're generally not using those roads anyway. Of course, all Century employees, as far as I know, are working from home this week. That frees up some parking in the Century home office for visitors and guests of the tournament. We have the Spash parking lot is designated, as well as Lot Q on the university that's designated for the golf event, and shuttles will be going in and out through there. We also have stepped up our public transportation, so city bus rides all week long will be no charge. So if you want to get up to the tournament from the south side, you can take public transportation. You don't have to worry about finding a parking spot. They will drop you off at the nearest bus stop, or maybe even one of the parking lots. You can get a shuttle in. Public transportation is widely available and again, free of charge during the week of the tournament. On-street overnight parking restrictions have been lifted in the city. So normally we have an odd, even numbered side system that we go through for overnight parking. You still have to have a legal parking spot, so you can't park in a no parking zone, but those overnight parking restrictions have been lifted during the entire tournament through the 4th of July, 5th of July, is when things kick back to normal. I know that there are additional taxis available, and Uber and Lyft drivers I know have been gearing up for this too. So there's lots of ways to get around, whether you just want to go to the grocery store and not drive this week, or you want to get up from wherever you are and visit the Century World USGA Men's Senior Open. We want to make it as convenient as we can for you.
Yeah, especially because as you mentioned, this is something that you're not accustomed to in Stevens Point. You've had smaller tournaments, and I'm using air quotes for smaller, by the way, because they were still international tournaments. But yeah, this is something that the region has not seen before.
It has not, but it's not unprecedented for the USGA. They run these many times. They've got it down to a science as far as planning goes. I've been telling people it's not unlike the Iola Car Show, right? A significantly smaller town hosting a significantly larger number of people, or Rockfest, Country Fest. I mean, those are all very large events in smaller towns. This is not going to be bumper to bumper traffic or elbow to elbow crowds on the street, but it's going to be a large event. Lots of people are going to be visiting Stevens Point for the first time, so you may see people paying more attention to their GPS on the phone, trying to figure out how they get to Goose on Main or the Lot Q. So they're going to have some challenges. So just be aware of that. Slow down. We should be safe drivers all the time, but I think we want to pay extra attention when we have all these people in town, because you're going to have people who aren't quite sure where they're going. They may need to get into traffic in front of you. So be courteous, let them in, and we'll get by this. This isn't the end. This is nothing we can't handle.
Indeed. And one more before we hand it off to Wyatt there. What is your message for those that are seeing Stevens Point for the first time? I'll let you get your response in there, and then if Wyatt's got any other questions, we'll turn it over to him.
Well, I think the quote of the week is, for the people who are visiting Stevens Point for the first time and see all the cool stuff, the quote should be, "Yeah, we did that." But seriously, anybody who is visiting Stevens Point for the first time, I would encourage you to get out and explore. If there is an interest you have, Stevens Point very likely has something that can tie into that interest. We've got a wonderful riverfront with gorgeous sunsets. We've got an amazing park system, the sculpture park. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head how many parks we have. Wonderful shopping districts, both downtown and throughout the city. South Side, don't forget that. There's lots going on there as well. We have wonderful dining establishments. We've got breweries, distilleries. All of them are offering tours. There's a fair amount of specials that many of the businesses are offering for USGA attendees. And just get out and explore. We've got live music on Wednesday nights. If you're looking for something to do after the tournament, City Band is playing at the band shell. We've got Notes at Night downtown. Two of the restaurants, the Annex, which is recently opened, has an open mic, and right next door at Goose on Main, they have live music on the patio. Tons of stuff going on. Don't limit yourself to just Century World. Get out and explore.
Oh, it's worked. Absolutely. Well, thank you, sir, for that. And basically, the story we're running is on the air quality that's going on right now. And I just wanted to ask, there's all these people coming into town right now. How will because we've currently got the air quality alert, how will that affect the tournament at all?
Well, it's just one of those things that we have to try and live with. I know that there are some people walking around that have a higher susceptibility to irritants, and they're wearing masks, trying to stay indoors perhaps. But there's a lot of nature variables that could happen, right? It could be, we could have heat like we did last week. It doesn't look like we will. It could rain. All of these things come into play, and there's contingencies for all of them. So the air quality alerts, be careful. If you are more susceptible to those irritants in the air, take the precautions that you need. Masks are still available widely. And there's lots of viewing options if maybe being outside watching the tournament isn't something that you feel you can handle because of the irritants. I know that this is going to be broadcast live on several channels. We're broadcasting the tournament through 120 different countries. So there's probably local establishments that will have it on their TV. I know Century World also has some options for viewing from indoors. Plus they have, I believe, some climate controlled rooms for some of those higher ticket prices, where you can get a great vantage point off the flower hole or wherever, if those irritants outside are not your cup of tea.
Absolutely. And then is there a certain point where if the air quality were to get too bad, is there a certain point where they postpone? Obviously they wouldn't call it, but was there a point where they postpone it?
Yeah, and those thresholds are determined by the USGA. The same is true for heat indices and whether it's a heat index or a storm, or heaven forbid we get some sort of high wind advisory or lightning storms. The USGA will make those calls if and when those thresholds are met, as far as whether it's a postponement, or in some cases they may just call it.
Right, that should be good for me.
Okay.
Awesome. There you go. All right. I will stop right there and